Alex, I know these projects can be complicated for a lot of enterprises and complex. Do you have some examples of where people get stuck and where they can really accelerate through to the value stage?
Yeah, I think the first thing when we talk about AI is remembering that in some senses, nothing has changed when it comes to getting business value out of data, right? It is a difficult problem that requires different skill sets and cross-functional business and technical capabilities in order to bridge that gap between the technical implementation and the actual business value that you're going to realize. And so it's important to always keep in mind what is the outcome that we're trying to drive and how are we going to do that within the business. A good example, my favorite example of where that can go wrong was a furniture manufacturer, distributor that they had basically, their big problem is last mile delivery, right? How do you get a couch from the showroom or from the warehouse to the actual living room of the customer? And they had built an entire model around how to optimize fitting furniture into box trucks, right? It's an incredibly interesting problem, and I'm sure one that was really fun to work on. At the end of the day, they gave that to the workers on the dock, and they found out, surprise, surprise, that they weren't willing to turn that sectional upside down and flip it and put it on the top of the truck. And so they were just leaving it at the end of the day, right? So there's this, you have to connect these things full circle in order to get value out of them. And I think being able to have a cross-functional team like we do, we're always trying to bring both the business and technical resources, look at a problem that we understand is feasible from not just a technical capability, but also that makes business sense, right? That you're going to be able to realize value from. So in that situation, probably should have started with something like route optimization instead, right?
I think that's where the industry expertise also helps.
Absolutely. I mean, having the people that understand if I am a merchandiser that works in, that owns frozen breakfast at a grocery chain, what do I care about, right? Versus if I am a supply chain manager, versus if I am a grid operations engineer at a utility company, right? What are the things that I care about, and how am I going to connect when I'm implementing AI, how am I going to connect to those people and make sure that ultimately I'm helping them make a decision. I'm helping them make a decision better than they make it today because they have information in order to support that. And I feel like when we talk about where people fall short, that's it, right? It's forgetting that you're trying to help somebody make a better decision. And we often kind of lose sight of that, I think, especially as AI has made solutions so much easier to develop, or at least so much faster to develop. People, you hear kind of we built a chat bot and nobody's using it, or we built, hey, we have this pilot that nobody has adopted, right? And I think that's because there's a lot of leading with technical capability, back to my box truck example, right? Leading with technical capability, we can build a model that optimizes this 3D space. How cool is that? And not leading from the other side, which is, hey, I need to understand, what promos I should be running based on the difference in segments that I have from a year ago when I was running a similar promo. Those sorts of things are where you can really make sure that you're focusing on the business problems.
One of the things I've really been impressed with Lovelytics is just the overall way you guys view the business and how you go to market. How is the technology approach and the implementation and the pilot approach different with Lovelytics?
I think there is a myth out there that moving fast means that you're building up tech debt, that you're going to have to go back and fix something because you did it wrong the first time around, or because you're going to learn something as part of a big planning exercise. And when we talk about the expertise that we can bring, it's understanding the problem, but also understanding how can we solve that problem quickly while bringing best practices that are going to set you up for successful implementations down the road. I love this concept of the flywheel, right? A flywheel is a mechanical device, and part of what it does is it takes a while to get moving, but once it does, stores energy and continues to move really quickly. So there's an initial inertia, which we see in organizations all the time, to implement something. And once you do, that flywheel tends to start spinning, right? So if you can get, hey, let's look at a discrete action that we can help drive within the organization. If I am, if I manage contracts for a large rail car lessor, it's a project we completed recently, and I have no idea what the current state of any contract is with any client, right? And every time a contract renewal comes up, I have no idea, if I should be trying to drive a liability clause, a different change, right, in risk with those contracts. So can I take something really small and say, okay, let me extract just liability terms from those contracts so that I have an updated sense of, okay, what are the liability terms in all of my thousands of contracts across the organization? Now I have that information and I'm building a foundation of the document knowledge, the contract knowledge. So now the next time the next time I have a use case, I'm already getting value from the liability terms, and I can find another piece of information, I can do that. And I can do that in a shorter time because I've gotten that flywheel turning, I've built that foundation, and now I'm just iterating on business value with the legal team. So that's how we really try to drive that iterative value, that compounding value. So you're not going 6, 9, 12, 18 months down the road before the business is actually seeing the return on the investment in AI.
Alex, I'm a large enterprise. We've made the decision to go AI. Woo! And we've made the decision to go Databricks because it's the foundation of our entire
Absolutely.
data model.
Yeah.
I haven't made the decision which partner to go with. Pitch me, I'm a shark.
So I think where you started, there's a lot of unknowns, right? You've told me that you want to go in on AI.
We do.
What does that mean?
We don't know.
Yeah, right? And I think that's the strength that we really bring, right? Is we have not only the technical expertise, but also the business expertise to be able to help you figure out, okay, what's going to be your quick win with AI? How are you going to be able to go back to the board and say, yes, we have implemented AI successfully. I have these metrics to prove it. I'm getting this value out of it as an organization. This isn't a science project, right? This is real value that we're driving. And we can do that because we bring that to every project. We bring that cross-functional discipline where we are doing everything from talking to your organization to understand exactly how you do things and what problems you have, right? We are bringing the knowledge from other clients in the same industry and other clients outside of industries that have similar problems and making recommendations about where you should start. And we're going through the entire implementation lifecycle with you while we have the value realization staff. We have a whole team that we call the value realization service line that we dedicate to how do you make sure that when this is delivered, it's not just a dashboard, it's not just a chatbot, it is something that people are using. They're actually driving better decision making because of it, and we're tracking that value both for this one and for the next one and for the one after, so that you're getting those compounding gains. That's the difference that we bring, is exactly the problem that you mentioned. We're going AI and we don't know where to start.
It's great because I think in the market today, the intent is very clear, but the outcome isn't.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many companies I talk to that are all in on AI, but when you look under the surface, they're not clear what that means to their business.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's why industry expertise is so critical.
Yeah.
Give me another reason.
Another reason to go with Lovelytics,
Yeah.
because we are, when it comes to Databricks, which we believe is the pound for pound, the best platform out there to do what we do, end-to-end analytics and AI implementations, we're the premier partner. We're the number one. We drive the most consumption. We have the most MVPs. We have the most experience on that platform. We have driven as much success or more success than anybody else on getting value out of that platform. And so while it's a big 1-2 punch, right? Number one, we're bringing the business expertise and the understanding of how to drive value with technology, and 2, we know how to do it best on the technology that we work with, which is Databricks.
I think one of the things I used to say to customers in my business is making the decision which vendor or software to go with is only half the battle.
Oh yeah.
Because if you pick the right technology and it's sitting on the shelf 5 years from now and you're not using it,
Yeah.
have you got any value out of it?
Absolutely.
So the second most critical decision, or sometimes even the most critical decision, is which partner should you go with? In fact, at the end, I think picking the right partner is more important than picking the platform.
Absolutely. I think the platform is only as good as what you build on it. right? And to your point, there's no silver bullet in any in any technology that just magically works. There's always a level of you have to implement it, people have to use it within your business, and you have to keep in mind what it's actually going to be driving, right? Again, what is the decision that I'm going to make better because I have implemented data and AI?
What's the biggest challenge that you see with people making that decision? So I'm an enterprise chief data officer.
Mm-hmm.
Snowflake, Databricks, blah. What is the biggest hurdle that people have to overcome when they're making that decision?
I think it's the fear of being wrong. There is, I think, especially in our space, in analytics and AI, people really underestimate the value of not having something, right? And we often, we hear people that did, often with the GSIs, like months-long strategy projects, right? Where they got, a piece of paper that told them, here is exactly how we should implement AI across the organization, right? And then it's another 9 months until you've established your data platform, and maybe there's a decision criteria there, and that's a year that your business has been running without any sort of insight into a lot of the things that it needs to operate efficiently in this landscape, right? Which is understanding your customer, understanding the market. And so you have to, there is a little bit of a measure twice, cut once, but obviously at some point you got to measure twice and not 30 times. And you got to get moving. And you have to be okay that if even if something's not perfect, you can iterate on it. But as long as you're finding something that will generate some value for the organization, having it's better than not having it. And I think that's where a partner, an expert like Lovelytics, that I love to say we've got the bumps and bruises so you don't have to, right? We've been using Databricks, most of us, for since it was GA, right, back in 2013, 2014. We've been using AI for 3 or 4 years now, generative AI for 3 or 4 years now. We've found out the pitfalls so that you don't have to, right? And so we can move fast, we can minimize that risk of being wrong while still driving value for the organization.
So valuable. Would you have any unique advice or particular advice? Because a lot of industries like hospitals, utilities, have legacy systems.
Yeah.
Old legacy system. That data is everywhere.
Yeah.
Is there unique challenges with industries that have large-scale legacy?
It is probably the biggest barrier is availability of data, right? Getting it out of all of those systems. I think that is where Databricks as a platform actually provides a really good feature set around consolidating that data so that it is usable. My recommendation always around where do I start, what system do I need, is drive from outcome. What is the outcome I'm trying to drive? Am I trying to do
said.
Utilization, workforce optimization at the hospital? What data do I need in order to do that? What data does that system live in, or what system does that data live in? And can I get only that system? I think I always called it the field of dreams approach, which is something from the hopefully years previous, where people said, okay, well, I'm going to get all of my data in one place, and then I'll figure out what to do with it. And by the time that you had all the data, whatever platform you built is probably obsolete. Again, the business has moved on. They built their own shadow IT environment, right? So drive with outcome. Find an outcome that you're, workforce optimization, find that data, grab only that data, deliver something to the business, then go grab the next set of data, then go grab the next legacy operational system.
Where have you seen the greatest return of value in terms of an application or a project?
Greatest return of value, that is a phenomenal question. I would say
obviously over the long term,
yeah,
it can transform the entire business.
Yeah.
But what's the low-hanging fruit, I guess?
I think depends on the industry you're talking about. So if we talk about energy and utilities, specifically distribution,
interesting.
things like vegetation management, right? If I have power lines, I've got trees encroaching on them. That's a huge hundreds of millions of dollars a year that a reasonably sized US utility is probably spending on vegetation management. If I can get 1% better, if I can get 5% better at, instead of sending a truck to just drive down the entire power line and say, it's a little close, can I use drone imagery? Can I use satellite imagery in order to triage smarter? There's, if I'm a CPG company, is it inventory, right? How much money am I spending? How much am I spending keeping things in inventory that either are taking up warehouse space, that need to be managed and inventoried, that I may never sell if they're more seasonal items, or if they have a limited life cycle that just end up dead stock that I have to write off or discount? Can I get 1% or can I get 5% better on that? I think there's no kind of cross-industry single, here is what everybody should be doing. But I can tell you, depending on the industry, here are the places that you should start when it comes to analytics and AI. And I think that's the rub, right? Is everybody kind of asks us, where should I start? And it's like, well, you got to tell me a little bit about yourself. What are your biggest pain points? What can we do for you?
I recently had dinner with a CEO of a very large enterprise company, and he was telling me about how they're moving towards AI and accelerating, and how much it's going to revolutionize their business. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, it's great. Like, first of all, I really do believe AI will be the greatest transformational technology of my lifetime. But I said to him, this will not be a revolution to start. This will be an evolution. And he looked at me almost disappointed, and he said, what do you mean? It's not overnight going to transform everything? And the analogy I used is winglets on jets. Do you know what a winglet is?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so an airplane used to have wings that went like that, and then somebody invented winglets. And I used to think they were really revolutionary. I recently read that they only save 1 to 3% of drag on an airplane. But on a typical airline,
sure,
that translates to billions of dollars of efficiency because of the usage and so on.
Absolutely.
And to me, AI is a little bit like that. I think people want too quick an answer or too easy an answer. And I love what you said is, start with a project where you can recognize real value, because eventually it will be a revolution, but it'll be built on multiple projects.
Absolutely.
But I also think you've got to look at it with the outcome in mind. I think one of the big mistakes people make is they say, well, we'll start here, we'll see how this goes. We'll assemble all our data and spend all that money, and then we'll step back and decide where to go. Do you think that that's true? Do you think that that approach of an evolution project after project is how we're going to see this roll out?
Absolutely. And I think when it comes to AI, specifically generative AI, we look at this ability to increase output, for lack of a better term, right? All of our output. Can I generate more slide decks? Can I put together, can I generate white papers or briefings? Can I generate business plans, right? But just because we've increased output doesn't mean we've increased value, right? And I think that's a big discrepancy. So if when you look at organizations that are like your friend, the CEO, who's saying, hey, it's going to revolutionize. We're giving it to everybody. It's great. What are they doing with it, right? Every once in a while, you see something. Oh, I put this together. Me and my friend Claude put this together, and it's a deck that nobody's ever going to look at, right? It's an idea, or it's a business plan, and it's like, oh, that's great. If I wanted to make that usable, it'd probably take me about as much time as it would have to do it from scratch. So you got to make sure that you're driving. I think that's where the incremental approach that you're talking about is, okay, what are the areas that I can make sure that I'm not just generating more output, right? I am generating more value, and I'm doing it faster. And I think there is, I agree with you. I think it's a transformative technology, absolutely. But I worry that when we take this, the broad strokes approach of, hey, everything's going to be AI now, without being more intentional about how we're doing that, I think that's where you lose sight, and you're going to end up running up these huge bills, right? But not actually seeing the returns and understanding where the returns are coming from, which I think is as important as anything, right?